What does demand look like right now? We're starting to see in other spaces signs of the consumer cracking. Is that starting to show up in demand this summer?
Actually, on our end, not at all. We've seen very strong demand in all markets we've had. SunExpress itself, in terms of the pre-pandemic levels, we've already broken that in 2021 at 101% capacity. Last year, we were already at 146%. This year, we're shooting over 170%. So in terms of many European mainline carriers being between 90 and 100% capacity to pre-pandemic levels, we've exceeded that very well. For 2024, we're seeing seat capacity increases of over 19%, and we're shooting for 15 million passenger numbers. So we're very happy with the demand we're seeing right now.
Max, can I just talk to you about a sort of related issue, which is very strong demand, but struggling infrastructure, and airlines that are struggling with cost issues as well. Let's deal with the infrastructure issue first of all. How big a problem do we have in Europe with ATC, air traffic control? I have to say, personally, I've just spent the last few days dealing with this, significant delays, cancellations across Europe. Are we underfunding air traffic control? Are we underfunding the infrastructure? Do you think airlines need to pay more?
Well, we've seen cost increases on the ATC side and actually any supplier side to a degree that we can't pass on to the customer. We're looking at low single-digit yield increases compared to our passengers, and we're looking at double-digit cost increases all around our supplier landscape, whether it's ATC, whether it's fees and charges, whether it's other supplier costs. So airlines are sort of stuck in the middle on that one. So definitely a no to increasing fees on that front. We are seeing bottlenecks and congestions actually all around Europe. This is a tendency that all airlines are affected by, and we're working through it. For example, at SunExpress, we have started a mobile sort of emergency SWAT team that is certified to help in all different kinds of airports with different security clearances. We have stepped up our communication efforts, and this is something we have to go through all together to master the summer traffic peak.
Okay, so that's the infrastructure and how it holds up to the summer peak. Thinking about that summer peak and what it starts to look like in the years ahead, Max, I wonder if you could give us some insight into conversations you're having or what customers are saying about rising temperatures in Europe and how that might change travel plans. Clearly, you're painting a picture of resilience. 2024 seats up by more than 19%, you said. But what conversations are going on around how rising temperatures impact if people travel, but perhaps more when they travel?
So we're seeing two things. For the summer peak, it can't seem to be hot enough for our travelers. So again, as you said, 19% seat capacity up. We're seeing that over the last really decades, especially Turkey as one of our key destinations has grown by 10 to 12% every year in the last 30 years and is still rising. The good value for money is actually helping on that front. So we're not seeing any kind of decline in demand for the summer. But what we are seeing is that in terms of just sun and beach, our customer segment is diversifying and expanding, and we're seeing that the shoulder periods in the early spring, but also the late fall, are actually extending. And we're looking at aircraft and crew utilizations of over 90% for the months of October, November. This is a new development, and not sure this is purely driven by the climate developments, but more importantly by, I think, customers really being eager to also get some relaxation time in later in the year.
That's interesting. Max, thinking about your growth plans, obviously that relies on you being able to get hold of the aircraft that you want and the ones you have on order. So you have an order in for 737s, I understand, and yet we've seen delivery delays there. How is that impacting on your expectations?
Yeah, at SunExpress, we have actually two open orders, one for 42 aircraft and another one for 90, so 132 in total. We're very happy with the aircraft from a technical point of view. We're very unhappy with the, as you mentioned, the delivery delay situation by Boeing. And we are putting quite a bit of pressure and also ample negotiations to step up the accuracy and the delivery timelines. This is something we're in discussions with Boeing. And again, this is something where Boeing really needs to step up its game in terms of getting back to the original delivery timelines. For us as a seasonal carrier, especially pre-summer deliveries are incredibly important. Delaying an aircraft by 6-7 months post-summer is a big hit for us with high costs. And again, this is something that is hard to pass through to the customer. So again, airline as an intermediary stuck in the middle.
Max, what does that pressure on Boeing look like in a kind of material sense? Is there any adjustment around the contracts that you have with them on these 130 plus aircraft that you've got on order in terms of pricing? Is there anything more material you can do in terms of that pressure? And when do you see deliveries getting back and kind of normalising? What's that time frame for you?
Well, I think you'll understand that I won't disclose any details in terms of our contractual negotiations with Boeing. But obviously, I think it's, we have out of the 90 aircraft order that we had in last year, we have 45 firm orders, 5 options, and 40 purchase rights. And obviously, that gives us a bit of space to negotiate, turning those into firm orders or not. And that's an area, an angle of attack that we're using.
Do you think you ever get those 737-10 MAX 10s, or you have to kind of effectively, and in reality, kind of write those off?
We're not going to write it off, actually, and we desperately need that aircraft because, as you know, the 737 MAX 8, roughly 189 seats to the MAX 10, 230 seats, is something we badly need in terms of the increase in capacity, and we're seeing it with other airlines, too, the upgauging that is badly needed. The MAX 10 hasn't been certified yet, so this is a process that's still going on. Boeing is advising that this is going to happen in 2025. Our earliest MAX 10 delivery is in 27, so we feel well prepared in still phasing that in on time.
Max, there is a shortage of aircraft around at the moment. What is happening with Boeing is one issue. If you're an Airbus customer and you've got the Pratt engine, you've got a problem as well. So there are kind of multiple issues that are affecting capacity this summer. Nevertheless, Turkish carriers in particular are putting a lot of capacity into the market. How do you think that's going to work out? Do you think there is too much capacity coming in for Turkish carriers? And how do you think that could ultimately affect your yield levels?
Actually, not at all. Our yields have gone up, again, single digits instead of the cost increases we're seeing that are in the double-digit range. But as you said, Turkey has had a wonderful growth spur. Actually, not only just the last few years. I mentioned we're operating at over 170% capacity compared to 2019. But if you look back, even for the last 30 years, you're seeing growth rates anywhere between 10 and 12% CAGR over the last 30 years. And this is despite, natural disasters like the earthquake last year, the military coup attempt in 2016. It's a very stable market. The current situation in terms of the economy is also providing a very good value for money and sort of benefit ratio in Turkey, which has made Turkey the #1 leisure destination out of mainland Europe, for example, at the moment. So I'm not concerned about that. Again, it's the sort of meeting demand with supply available we have.
OK, final question. We started the conversation talking about demand. You say that demand is very strong and is likely to remain, certainly in the near term. You are a seasonal carrier, mainly focused on the summer. So what happens this winter? What do you think? How sustainable do you think the current demand picture really looks like? I'm starting to see airlines sounding much more cautious about what this winter season is going to look like. Do you think this is the last summer in which we're going to see this level of demand, this level of price elasticity? How much more can we get out of this market, do you think, into next summer, into what happens in 2025?
As I mentioned before, we're doing a couple different things to counter seasonality. One of the things is that we're extending the summer period. And as I mentioned, we have crew and aircraft utilizations in the 90% plus range in the months of November and October. So it is diversifying the purpose of travel from purely sun and beach to, culinary travel, cultural travel, hiking, nature travel. And that's worked quite well. Golfing tourism, for example, has spiked up, especially from the UK. And so we're seeing a demand that is sort of broadening into spring and also into the fall. So on that note, very, very positive developments. At the same time, we're also taking actions to shed some of the capacity in the wintertime. One example here I'd like to mention is our operation in South Africa. So we have, last winter, we put 2 aircraft into South Africa, operating for South African Airways between Joburg, Cape Town, Durban, Port Elizabeth, and this is being stepped up next winter. So we're doing things on both sides. One, basically increase revenue, counter seasonality, and at the same time offloading and shedding some of the excess capacity we have in the wintertime.